We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. By the time you hear this, it will be Friday. We are recording it on Thursday night. And back by popular demand, we had a gentleman on. And I gave you a nickname, and I'm sorry about that if you don't like it, but I'm still going to use it even if you don't like it. His name is Mike. My name is Mike. So I gave him the name Southside Mike. It seemed appropriate.
What are you, West Side Mike?
No, I'm Rational Boomer.
Tonka Mike?
Tonka Mike. Yeah. No, I'm Rational Boomer. I got the dumbass
You're the
name.
boomer. Hey, that's not a bad handle.
Well, some people ask me, how did you come up with Rational Boomer? I was standing in my bathroom getting ready to record a video, and I said, I suppose I should have a name. And I said, I am a baby boomer, but the contrast is that I'm actually rational. We have got so many boomers out there that are fucking irrational. It just seemed to work and it stuck. You hold on to anything long enough and people get accustomed to it.
Yeah. Well, you get a nickname as old as I am, and it probably is never going to stick and not sound good. You know what my nickname is.
Well, I know what I call you,
What
but
does
what's
what does everybody call me?
Medi?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
which
been
is a
my whole
variation
life.
on his last name. Yeah, everybody calls you. I mean, I called you that since we were playing football together at Longfellow Park when we were 10 years old.
Yeah.
Actually,
But
at 10, I wasn't on your team. We had two teams at that time. You were on the other team, and I
I was
was
on
on
the
the
A team. You were on the B team.
fuck you. Fuck
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. You
Then
couldn't
we
make
put the two.
weight.
You know what? I never had a problem making weight ever, which is
No.
weird.
Bill
Well,
Wozniak.
yeah, we had Bill Wozniak. We had a couple of guys that had to run around the thing in their sweatsuits or their plastic suits in order to make weight. That was, for people who had trouble making weight, that had to be a really embarrassing thing. You're in fifth grade, and every day, every time before a game, we'd have to go in this little room and weigh in.
Remember them old scales where they'd have the like big round steel nuggets? One's a 100 pounder, one's a 20 pounder, 50 pounder.
And they put like an index card on it, and you knock that fucker off, you weren't playing.
Yep, yep.
That's There were some times when I was wrestling where I didn't make weight, but that was a little different deal because you had to make a specific weight. But for
Do you,
those of
do
you
you,
that don't know, I'm sorry.
well, do you remember what your nickname was back then?
Yeah, I do.
Chester.
Chester. And you have to understand why. Well, I was young and I was in
You
pretty good
walked around
shape. I
like
was
this.
wrestling. I was wrestling and I lifting weights and stuff. So I was in a little better shape than I am now. Not much.
Little.
A little bit. For those people who don't know who Southside Mike is, if you didn't listen to the first one, Mike is somebody I've known since 1970, 71, that era. We played sports together. We went to junior high school together. We went to separate high schools, but the whole group of people always hung out together anyway, parties and river parties and shit like that. So I've known Mike a long time, and since we've grown up and got to be married and old and all that stuff, you don't see each other as much because you got your life, I got my life. And then I saw him show up on a Facebook post where he was being interviewed by the local CBS station
Frankie
regarding the
McLister.
shoot. Yeah, regarding the shootings in Minneapolis. And I remember you as you're 13, 17, 18 and stuff. And then you go through the years where you're going through life and families and stuff like that. Um, you seemed a little more, you seemed a little more, what's the word? I'm not solemn. You seemed a little more concerned about shit. Cause back when we were young, we didn't give a fuck about anything. So it struck me and you were very articulate and you were very, very kind of emotional about it. And I thought, motherfucker, he'd be an easy guy to talk to. And sure enough, you were.
Yeah, well, those circumstances that arose, like I said in the last interview, Minneapolis was going through some turmoil. And, I knew it was going through turmoil before they shot Renee Good, right?
Yeah.
That just kind of upped it a couple of notches. And then when they killed Alex Pretty, I mean, I was home alone and I couldn't sit in the house. I had to go out and I was going to go get Ted Cook. So I thought, well, I'm going to go down to where they shot Alex at. I knew right where it was at because one of my favorite rib joints was just up the street.
Right.
And yeah, I got interviewed by Frankie, and just everything just kind of came from the heart. It's kind of hard when you all of a sudden some guy says, "Hey, I want to interview you," and you're full of this raw emotion, and the words just start coming out. And you know, I'm one thing I will say, I'm proud to wear the tag Southside Mike because I am so proud of South Minneapolis. I mean, a lot of our friends, we grew up here and a lot of them have moved out to the suburbs. I'm one of the few that still live in South Minneapolis. And I'm telling you, from what I've seen from people, whether you're following ice cars or blowing whistles or down at the memorial or marching at the courthouse, um, everybody has they brought out the best in the community. And I'm just really proud of where we're at. We're actually teaching the rest of the country what to do when they get invaded by these simpletons.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And we should say Mike was born and raised in South Minneapolis, and unlike a lot of us, he still lives in South Minneapolis. I was born and raised in South Minneapolis. I married a suburban girl. She dragged me the fuck out of the city. I've been in the suburbs ever since. And I will tell you this, there is a big difference between suburbs. Maybe it's a difference in the era too, but there was more a family connection in South Minneapolis in the various neighborhoods. We hung around with the kids that were in the neighborhood. We talked to our neighbors and that sort of stuff. I mean, I don't know if you remember this, but when we were young, there was one social event that every dad had to partake in once a week, and the kids would always gather around. And that was when you would burn the trash. You'd have the big can in the back, right? You put a bunch of shit in it, didn't matter what it is, aerosol cans, and you light that fucking thing on fire. The neighbor comes over, you talk over the fire, and the kids are sticking sticks in it and shit like that. You remember that, don't you?
Throwing acorns in there. Oh yeah, that was I was just talking to my wife about it. That was like my job because she asked me if I got an allowance growing up, and I said, I did get an allowance. And she said, well, you had to have a job to get an allowance. And I said, yep, my job was to take the garbage out and burn it. And she's like, burn it? What do you mean? And I go, oh, we had, the old 55-gallon drum in the alley
Right,
right next to the garage. And
right.
you kind of wheel it away from the fence or the garage a little bit and throw stuff in there and burn it. And she couldn't believe that, like she thought we were rich growing up because I got, a nickel a week for burning the garbage, but that I actually got to burn the garbage. And my dad would give me a book of matches and he'd wait by the back door. He probably started out looking out the window to make sure I wasn't screwing around. And then when I came back in, I had to hand him back the matches. He wasn't
Yeah.
going to let me keep the matches, but yeah, burn barrel. Could you imagine? Like nowadays, everybody had a burn barrel.
Well, now it's different. Everybody has a bonfire. It's something about fires that brings people
Yeah.
around. But you aren't burning milk cartons and aerosol cans and
Oh,
beer cans and stuff like that.
we burnt everything. I mean,
Yeah.
and then you'd get like eggshells on the bottom and cardboard that wouldn't burn. You'd have to kind of have an old broom handle and stir it around. And oh yeah,
Heck,
but then you'd always, there was like one or two garages a week that would burn down. I think that's what kept the fire department busy was, you know, putting out fires on garages.
some dumbass pouring lighter fluid on it to get it going faster or some shit. Now, today we hear that Tom Homan announces that they're going to do a drawdown on the surge in Minneapolis. The last time they said that, they said, we're going to calm it down a little bit. They sent home 700 people out of 3,000, still 2,300 people occupying the city. That wasn't really a drawdown. And we saw the media kind of look away. I don't think since they did that first drawdown to now that anything's gotten any better in this city. It's just that the media is not paying attention to it anymore.
I would agree with you 100%. And do you really trust anything that Holman says? I mean, you know,
No.
Mr. Potato Head, he's has anybody ever talked about the 50 grand that he took in a bribe? I mean, how can you trust this guy? You can't trust any of them.
Well, you can't trust any of them, and you know, how can you trust anybody that Donald Trump has anything to do with? We'll talk about this more later, but
I
is
mean,
the head
if
of the Fed is the guy that he wants to put in the head of the Fed's in the Epstein files, for fuck's sake.
well, yeah, but I mean, if let's just say somebody from the DHS or ICE, as they took over Minneapolis, came into your restaurant to grab somebody and you stood in the way and they punched you in the face and broke your nose and let you lay there, you would never be able to press any charges on them because you wouldn't know who did it. There's no badge number. There's no finding out who these clowns are. And so, I mean, what are you supposed to do? You don't believe anything they say. If Holman, when he said that 700 officers were leaving, do you really think 700 left?
Yeah, who knows? There's no way to verify it,
I mean, do
but
you
I will
think he
say,
just like counted 700 and said, get on the plane? No,
fuck, you know, I know he sent Bovino
they're
home, but
I'm still seeing videos. I mean, you're not seeing the news coverage cover it as much, but you're still seeing people with phones posting stuff on like the Nextdoor apps and Instagram and things of that nature. So they're still taking people, and
oh no, there's
they're still doing it in an unconstitutional way. So I won't believe a word they say until you're starting to see people come back out. People are
yeah.
buried deep, right? People are buried deep around here right now. You can't even still can't get a taco going up down Lake Street
Really,
anywhere.
the stores are still closed. People
Yep,
just aren't showing up.
we supported one that's been there. You remember where the old Tom Thumb used to be on Lake Street?
Yeah.
Yep. So there's a Mexican restaurant in there that's more of a takeout, almost like a Chipotle. We got, some burrito bowls and gave them some money because we know how bad they're hurting. And Pam said that she had to wait in line for 45 minutes because so many people were there to probably not only to support them, but it's the only one around if you want to get a taco.
We need to tell people too, when you mention Pam, that is your wife, not Pam
That
Bondi.
that yeah. Oh, that what you know what I figured out about her after watching her yesterday in front of the hearing is that she is buried so deep and she has lied, she's perjured, she's she knows that Donald Trump will pardon her. But where do you think that keeps her for Donald Trump has her right where he wants her.
Well, he does. And, you know, the thing is, you saw her get riled up
Oh my God.
when when somebody suggested that she committed perjury or did something criminal. She says, "How dare you call me a criminal?" You know it's getting to her. She wouldn't react like that. And if she's waiting for a Donald Trump pardon, now here's the problem with that. Donald Trump doesn't give anything out unless he gets something back. And if she's hanging by a thread, he'd just soon throw her under the bus as opposed to help her out.
Well,
And if Donald Trump is on the way out, he's going to only care about himself. Maybe she gets a pardon, maybe she doesn't. But if nothing else, she's probably going to lose her law license and her life is going to be shit henceforth.
oh, I agree 100% with you. But it's almost like a crime family. The mob boss has her exactly where he wants her, you know,
Yeah. Well, yeah. You know,
because
and it's
she knows that the only chance she has at this point going forward is someday she's going to get a pardon. Because
that. Yeah.
that she is going to be indicted with a
Well,
few
you know
others.
that. Well, it has to be because they're talking about what she's doing and what Cash Patel is doing is the biggest cover up in the history of this country. We know what
Without a
happened to John. We know what happened to John Mitchell back in Richard Nixon. That motherfucker went to jail, and he was an attorney general. So she's done much more. You would hope that'd be weighing on their minds, not only Pam Bondi, but Cash Patel and Hegseth and all the ICE agents. They have to know somebody's going to be coming for them when this sorry ass orange motherfucker finally chokes on a Big Mac.
oh
Yeah, I got my fingers crossed too.
yeah. Yeah, have we changed that much as a society though, where, back in the back in the Nixon era, I mean, you had Republicans that would go out and have a drink with Democrats, and they'd kind of square something up and get something settled. And nowadays, we're so far apart. And I mean, honestly, anybody that's out there listening, can you believe like you would still support Donald Trump? I mean,
Yeah,
seriously, seriously. I mean, we're talking a freaking pedophile, Mike. A
yeah, I know.
pedophile. I mean, what gets
I,
worse than that? What gets worse than that?
nothing I can think of. And I tell you what, when Nixon was forced to resign, it was the Republicans that made him do it.
Yep.
People with a reasonable
Well,
mind
because they
saying
knew
this
he
is
would
too
they
far.
knew he would get impeached. That's why.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
but they would have had to impeach him to do it, though. They would have had to been involved in the impeachment because they needed
well,
67 votes in the Senate. So, but the Republicans were ready to be done with him.
yeah.
And every time you think Republicans are sick of Donald Trump, they just cave in more. They get a phone call and their knees shake and they just do whatever the fuck
And
you
why
ask.
is that? Why do you
It's a
suppose
good
that is,
question.
Mike? I mean,
Well, yeah, the thing is, they keep saying, well, he'll primary me. And I'm thinking to myself, why are you worried about a primary? You're not going to win in the midterms anyway. And secondly, well, who cares if Donald Trump primaries you? Nobody's going to support anything that Donald Trump is doing. We got 75% of the country against Donald Trump. So why would you care if you're getting
right. So
primary?
when do they start to put their tail between their legs and you know, like maybe run the other way? All the elections up to this point, if Donald Trump supported them, they've lost. Wouldn't that kind of open up to your eyes to kind of go, well, I don't want his support. I got a
I
better
think
chance without him.
yeah, that's what logic would tell you. But I got to be honest. During the November election in 2024, I said Kamala will win based on common sense and logic. And when she lost, I realized common sense and logic isn't in play here. Nobody's using common sense or logic, at least on the Republican side.
Well, when you look back at that whole election, there's so many things that just were a perfect storm for Donald Trump. Don't you think? Like with
Yeah.
Biden hanging on as long as he did, and then Kamala running, and then Walsh joining in, which I don't know if he was the best pick at the time, and and then the things that that they really ran on, like the LGBTQ community stuff, and I mean that shouldn't even be an issue, right?
No.
We're past that, aren't we? As a nation, aren't we past that? Don't we love everybody? And I mean,
Well, I mean, we shouldn't look at people in categories black, white, LGBTQ. We're all just humans in the bottom line. And as long as we just treat people as such, then we should be good.
right.
But yeah, it's, I think the best way to explain the Republicans is to use a phrase that we used back in junior high school and high school to refer to somebody like the Republicans. They're a bunch of fucking pussies.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
I think there's some Democrats too.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I mean, you can't just put all the blame on the Republicans, I mean,
Most of it, but yeah.
well, surely what's going on now? I mean, how long is it going to take us to repair the state of Minnesota?
Well, that's a good question. Let's say ICE does leave. They draw down completely. They're going to leave 100 people here. That's what they had here before. They had the surge. There's a lot of things to recover from. We've got
Oh,
the trauma of innocent people being murdered on the streets of Minneapolis. We've got kids being detained and sent into a detainment camp. We've got old people being dragged out of house. There's got to be a lot of PTSD in this fucking town or in the state
business
in general. How do
businesses
we
that
fix that? Yeah,
businesses that are
businesses.
running under 50% what they were before this whole thing happened. Some businesses had to close down. Yeah,
Well, and
and
Tom Homan had the audacity to say, "Well, we're going to draw down on these. We went in there, we did our job. Minneapolis is safe again."
yeah,
The fact of the matter is, it was never never less safe than when ICE was here. More
It was,
problems, more incidents happen.
oh, a lot more problems when ICE was here. I mean, you can't even compare it. I mean, we actually, Minneapolis has never seen anything like this because even during the George Floyd riots, I
Yeah.
mean, you felt safe. I mean, they were protesting, yeah, and they were burning stuff down. It's only, 2 miles from my house where all that happened. Oh, scared the shit out of me. My puck signed. Um, you know, but with this ICE stuff, I mean, they were dragging people out of cars, breaking car windows. I mean, let's just say you were driving home from work and you happened to drive down the road and ICE was blocked in the middle of the road and you had to stop behind them and they wanted to back up. They would
Yeah.
come and like get vicious to the driver,
Yeah.
like you're trying to box them in or something. You're like, no, I'm just trying to get home, you know? And then, drag you out if you don't want to show them ID. And yeah, it's Minneapolis was like just kind of getting over the whole funk of the George Floyd thing when all this started rolling in. And, where we live, we feel safe. We go out and walk the dog every night. My wife is not afraid to go out and walk the dog by herself. And, now we just got to start healing again. And I hope ICE is leaving. I hope they all leave tomorrow.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
get back up to the border. We need a couple up there to check your IDs, when you come back from Canada. But
Well, I think the big difference between what happened with George Floyd and this ICE situation, when George Floyd happened, people were angry with the police department for obvious reasons. You don't murder somebody on the streets of South Minneapolis on video.
yep,
But ICE, of course, went and did the same thing. But um, when that was going on, it was a little crazy. A lot of the violence was stirred up by Republican instigators. Not to say it wouldn't have started, and not to say there weren't some um, more liberal people involved in the violence, but that was a much different situation. That was kind of in a certain area. And you just, anytime you live in any big town, there's certain areas you don't go to depending on what's going on. The big difference is when ICE came in, you didn't know where they were going to go, and they had the authority of the government, and they could come up and kick your ass, and there's not much you could do about it. And couldn't necessarily avoid it because you didn't know if they're going to show up at your church, or at your school, at your fucking department store.
yeah, that is the hard part because well, I'll tell you, I think most common sensed people, whether you're Republican, Independent, Democrat, if ICE would have came in surgically, right, and taken out the rapists and the murderers and the felons, right? Like they said they were going to do. Let's just say, hey, we
Yeah.
got a list here. We're coming to Minnesota. But you know right from the start that that was not their objective. Their objective was to come here and spread fear because Donald Trump doesn't like Tim Walz or the state of Minnesota because he's never won it. And we're a sanctuary city. And so they came in here with the idea of spreading fear because I can guarantee you the first day that they came in here, they weren't like going and looking for somebody that was a rapist or a murderer or a convicted felon. They were going for anybody that was undocumented. Now, and I don't even know undocumented. What the hell is that? If you come over the border illegally and you check in and you're on a pathway to citizenship, are you still undocumented?
Well, documented somebody who was documented that got detained was somebody like Ramos and
Yeah,
his dad. They were seeking asylum and they were doing the things they were supposed to do, and they still got detained and sent away. Document it means that you're in the process of trying to get citizenship
you're on the
or
pathway.
asylum. Yeah, you're on
So
the
you mean to
pathway. You've
tell
done
me that
something.
if they arrested 4,000 people that were undocumented and were the worst of the worst, do you really think we had that many murders and rapists and felons
No,
running around?
no. I think Governor Walz said to Tom Homan, said, "Look, You were coming here to get the worst of the worst. Do you know how many of the people you pulled in and took out of here had felonies? Maybe a third of them.
Oh, I don't even think it was that. I think it was four. I think I read somewhere it was like 457 out of 4,000.
Really, really,
Yes.
wow. Well, one of the reasons I think that ICE is actually drawn down and will be out of here is not because they have any misgivings about being cruel or causing problems, but when it was hot here and all the media was here, as much as it was going against Donald Trump, that's what he wanted. That's what a bully wanted. He wanted the fear. He wanted the notice. And then when the media left, it's not fun anymore.
Yeah.
The media leaves, it's not fun anymore. Now it's time to move on to another spot. And I think that's the worst part of it is
It's
that,
not front page news anymore.
yeah, so he's not gaining anything out of it. So now he's going to go someplace else and try to stir it up. I just hope he goes to Philadelphia because he's going to get fucked up in that. I mean, he went to Compton and that didn't go well. He went to certain parts of Chicago, that didn't go well. And like you said, people have seen what happened here in Minnesota about pushing back. There were a lot of lessons learned from that, and you're going to see that replicated in whatever towns they want to go into.
But let me ask you this. Let's just say he goes to Philly and there's an uprising that is more vigilant than, say, Minneapolis, and say some agents get killed or hurt or maimed or beat up. Don't you really think that's what he wants?
Um,
Or do you think he'd
I th-
still be getting bad press on it? I mean,
well, he get bad press on it, but do I think that's what he wants? Yeah, I do think that's what he wants. But at the same time, I would say be careful what you're asking for,
yeah.
because Donald Trump fucks up. He makes poor choices every day. That's what he thinks he wants. But if it happened, what's going to happen when 8 or 10 ICE agents get shot and there's not much they can do? Are they going to send in the military? So what? In Philadelphia, that's a huge fucking town. There are more people there, far more people there than in Minnesota. And these people are a little more feisty. They're armed. They'll go to war with them. Fuck the gangs out in California and Compton said, or Chicago, they said, come to town, motherfucker. We're going to have a war.
Yeah.
And and these ICE agents aren't courageous people. They're cowards. They're picking up 5-year-olds and old ladies. Yeah, maybe what he wants, but the whole idea of the Insurrection Act and all that stuff, I'm not worried about that. There's just too many fucking people.
You think so, huh?
I do. I do. Well, put it this way. Think over the last year that he's been president. Think of all the ideas and the strategies he's come up with and how many have been successful. It always falls apart in the end. So he constantly fucks up. So I'm not really worried about him doing that. He's pretty anxious. He's pretty compulsive. I would have thought he'd done it by now. Hopefully there's people around him, probably not, but holding him back from doing anything too stupid.
Well,
But he's been pretty stupid.
He did get the billionaires what they wanted.
He did. But now they're getting exposed in the Epstein files. He didn't do a very good job of keeping that covered up as things keep coming out. I mean,
do you think it'll ever come out, Mike?
well, I think there's enough stuff coming out already to cause some problems. We're seeing people in other countries getting fired or resigning in shame. There are people in this country. I mean, I'll give you an example. There's a guy named, what's his name? Wasserman. I can't remember his first name, but he owns a big management company with a lot of stars. And he was in the Epstein files. And some of the emails that were exposed were a little sketchy. And there's an artist that you and I probably don't know anything about, but she's hugely popular. Her name is Chapel Roan. And she came out and said, look, I'm leaving that management firm as long as this person is the CEO. I don't want anything to do with it. There's a lot of fallout going up. Andrew's getting kicked out completely from Prince Andrew from England.
Yeah.
We've got several other countries like Lithuania, UK, and Poland doing investigations. And that's really the problem for Donald Trump because he's got no control over there. He can't stop them from doing it. And don't think that if there's some Trump evidence in there, they will relish in releasing that shit.
Yeah. Well, I hope so.
Yeah, I do too.
I mean, God, I just can't believe that people just a pedophile. That's about as freaking low as it gets. I don't
Have
give a shit
you?
how much money they have, or I don't care who it is. We're talking about pedophiles,
Yeah. Well,
and
you
and
remember on.
they're just trying to sweep this shit under the rug like it's no big deal.
Well, that's what Donald Trump's saying. Let's move on. No, we're not moving on. Do you remember on Facebook prior to Donald Trump coming back, there was this little group of called QAnon, and they were out there
Oh
posting
yeah,
shit all the time. First,
yeah,
I didn't know anything about who they were. I just thought they were weird, and then it kind of snowballed and got bigger and bigger. And they were saying some of the most fucked up things about this alleged Democratic cabal, cannibalism, murder, um, sex trafficking, that sort of stuff. And you go,
yep.
Jesus, that's crazy. That Pizzagate, that's not real.
Well, that
But
was
now,
like
when,
Hillary. Weren't they blaming Hillary Clinton for that?
yeah, and now when we see what's in these Epstein files, they were kind of right. Maybe it wasn't the Democratic cabal; it was a cabal of wealthy people. But that crazy shit. I mean, they're talking in those files. They're talking about uh,
Body
murdering kids,
boxes, body
body
box,
boxes,
body
murdering
boxes, and
kids,
acid,
9 year
acid.
old Brazilian girls, and 14. Jesus Christ! This this is this is a group of people. There's probably multiple groups of people who have way too much money, are way too entitled, and everybody's willing to give them a pass because they got power and money. And now it's slowly but surely slipping out. It's like I want to give an example. I'm not going to give that
Yeah,
example. That's
come
gross.
on, come on.
you know, when you have to go to the bathroom, you're going number two, and you're kind of constipated, and just a little bit's coming out. Eventually it's all coming out. It's going
Oh,
to be some work, but it's all coming.
that's the laws of
And
physics.
and that's how I feel this is. It's starting to trickle out. And every time people get a taste, they go, oh, fuck it. Let's get this out there. There are going to be people, I believe, that are going to leak shit. It's all going to come out. It may not be until after Donald Trump dies where it will all come out, but eventually it's all going to come out, and it's going to be a huge fallout, not only for politics, but for the world politics and of course, big business.
Well, you see, that kind of raises a tough question there because I really hope it comes out before he dies, but I
I do
really
too.
wouldn't mind it if the fucker died tomorrow. So,
No, no, I think Republicans are going to be appalled about a nationwide or worldwide Mardi Gras on that day. They're going to
yeah,
say, our president died. Fuck, good. It's about goddamn time.
yeah. And they'll have the big presidential burial for him and nobody will show up, you know.
You know what we should do when he dies? You and I should rent a tent, a shitload of Ted Cook ribs, and just have a party for anybody in South Minneapolis that wants to show up.
Well, you got to try him first.
I trust you. I like all ribs. Some are better than others. Everything I've ever heard about Ted Cooks has been awesome. I know they're going to be good. And I will be trying
We
those.
will do that. We will do
Um,
that. We'll have a party.
but as I've gotten older, now I have kids and I have a granddaughter. I'm looking at this. I'm going, Jesus, how how have they been allowed to do this? You look at Jeffrey Epstein when he got a sweetheart deal. The prosecutor was Alex Acosta. If you see him, he's a creepy motherfucker. He must have been a participant as well. But they gave him just a sweetheart deal, and they said, okay, we won't prosecute anybody else that was involved. And that's why Ghislaine Maxwell wants to get off, because of that deal they had. Um, I keep saying this, but the important thing to remember, you see Pam Bondi up there talking in front of Congress, acting like she doesn't know anything about the Epstein files, that there's nothing here, there's no list and all that stuff. When that sweetheart deal thing was going on and the investigation of Jeffrey Epstein was going on, she was the Attorney General of Florida.
Florida.
She knows more about this than she lets on. She thinks she's separated from it. She's just holding it back to save Donald Trump. I'm guessing there's a lot of people on her connections on her phone that are probably similarly involved.
I know, and let's just say it's half as bad as what we assume it is. And both Kash Patel and Pam Bondi have read through the unredacted files. How do they sleep at night knowing they're protecting these people? I mean,
Well, and they throw each other under the bus, you know. They're looking at the redacted files. They weren't supposed to redact these files. And then she says, well, that's how I got them from the FBI. So the FBI redacted them first before the DOJ got them, and then they redacted them more. And now we've got Democrats going in and looking at the unredacted files, and they're still redacted to a certain extent. And these people, when they come out and they're interviewed afterwards, they're almost shaken by how bad it was. I
yeah.
mean, it's that bad. Um,
So, when we talk about redacted or they talk about redacted, I mean, who makes the call on what is supposed to get redacted? Because as far as I think I know about it, is only the victims
right.
and the nude photos were supposed to be redacted. And then when they let out the first million of the 3 million copies, there was a lot of stuff in there that wasn't redacted that actually showed nude pictures of victims and some acts where the person that was doing the acts were redacted but not the victim. Do you think they did that on purpose?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it was one of their intimidation tactics. You know, by law, according to the law, it said you had to redact all the victims slash survivors and all the pictures. Um, but they didn't do that. But they did redact some of the culprits. And the
Yeah.
thing is, they were only supposed to redact the victims. They didn't care about whether it was going to be embarrassing or exposing somebody. Everything else was to be unredacted, and that just wasn't the case. You know, one of the big billionaires that was kind of known before but was unredacted recently was this guy Les Wexner. Now,
Yeah.
Les Wexner owned a bunch of department stores. He owned Victoria's Secret and some other stuff, Bath and Beyond, Bed Bath and Beyond. Um, and apparently, he and Epstein were tight. He basically, initially anyway, bankrolled Jeffrey Epstein. And for some reason, Epstein got power of attorney over this billionaire. It was just, there's something really weird going on there, but that's how he got started. And then I personally think this Epstein, Donald, the funny thing is Donald Trump keeps saying, I never went to Epstein's island. But you know what? That shit was going on at Epstein's place in New York
Yeah.
and in New Mexico. We're hearing horror stories about New Mexico. So maybe you didn't go to the island, probably did, but maybe you didn't. But you certainly went to his house. You certainly went to New Mexico and fucking Mar-a-Lago. God knows what was going on there.
Well, and they knew about it. How many
Yeah.
people knew about it and never said anything? Because they probably had some sort of dirt on them. Like, if this ever gets out, I got this right here. I got video right here. And so blackmail obviously was a big part of why it never got out. But
Well, and I think that I think Donald Trump was a partner, a business partner. There's too much money involved for him not to want a piece. But I think it was a business catering to wealthy white men that wanted taboo, illegal shit, and they provided it. I think the videos there were for insurance. It's kind of like when you were in a mob or something. As soon as you got in, they make you kill somebody, so you were just as guilty as they were, and you couldn't
yeah,
tell on each other.
yeah,
I have a feeling that's. I mean, I'm sure there was some blackmail involved, but I think it was more insurance. Because to keep blackmailing somebody over and over for decades, that seems like it's hard to do. But if you're providing a service that somebody's willing to pay for That's easy, especially when the guy's got unlimited money. Now Donald Trump always said, I didn't know anything about this. But in these emails, there's something that came out. When Jeffrey Epstein was first arrested, after he was arrested, Donald Trump called the sheriff down in his area in South Florida. And he said to him, he says, "Oh, I hear you got Jeffrey Epstein. Everybody knew what he was doing. He's the devil. And Ghislaine Maxwell's a demon. I'm glad you got him." And I was thinking, why would he do that? But it's so typical with Donald Trump. He's always projecting. I think in his mind, in his childlike mind, he called the sheriff to talk shit about Epstein so that if anything with his name came up, he said, no, I was talking bad about it. He was trying to cover his ass when he was
Yeah,
doing that.
no doubt. No doubt. And, I mean, going forward, you said, someday this is going to come out, probably after he dies, before he dies. But, right now, he's got the DOJ, he's got the FBI. I mean, so if those two institutions aren't really going to help get that information out, and they're going to keep squandering around. I mean, if Congress can't do anything and the Supreme Court can't do anything and the FBI, the DOJ are all dirty, like how does it come out?
I don't know, but there's got to be a breaking point.
Like an overseas media outlet, or
Probably.
I keep hearing rumors like I heard that that they were going to just start like showing some of the stuff that some of the senators and congressmen and women got to look over and just start throwing it out there. I mean, can they do that?
I don't know if they can do that, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was some kind of leak. The funny thing is, what we found out is when these members of Congress are going in and looking at the unredacted files, when Pam Bondi was on stage the other day and she was being interviewed, she opened her book, and the book showed very specifically that they were keeping track of everything that every politician was looking at while they were in that little room looking at the unredacted files. And people are wondering, well, why would they do that? Well, anytime you're dealing with a criminal or a narcissist, the more information you have, the better. It's a way to try to hold something over their head. That's what Donald Trump does all the time. But they're nervous about this. They don't have any way to stop them from going in and looking at the unredacted files based on what the law is. But they're nervous about this shit. I mean, did you see Pam Bondi? She didn't answer one question about Epstein.
And she wouldn't look behind at the survivors either.
No, I mean, she revealed their names, and they said, would you stand up and apologize to them for putting them in danger, embarrassing them, traumatizing them? And she would not do it. She would not do it. I don't know if that's guilt. I don't know if that's
well, didn't she say too that they're actively investigating, the files, and so they asked all the victims, have you went to the DOJ and tried to, get them to hear your story? And every one of them raised their hands. And then, have they shut the door on you? Has anybody, wanted to hear your story? And all of them said no. None of them would hear my story. And Pam Bondi's sitting right there in front of them with this big smirk on her face, like you just wanted to just slap her.
Yeah, you really do.
Just wanted to slap her, but.
Well, in that moment, that was Dan Goldman talking. Do you want to talk to the DOJ? Yeah. Has the DOJ ever talked to you? No. Have they shut you out? Have they played you off? And they all agreed that happened. So when that was done, that exposed Pam Bondi for perjury. First of all, in other media outlets where she said that, but even in front of Congress where she said, they're all welcome. We want to talk to all of them. We're in touch with them. And right there, it was proven that she was in touch with none of them. These people aren't beneath flat out blatantly lying to everybody just to cover their ass.
Yeah, which is sad. I mean, and so then what happens? Nobody has any power on Capitol Hill anymore.
I would hope when this is all done that there's a lot of changes made. I mean, people keep telling us no one's above the law. That's absolute bullshit. The
That is
president's above the
bullshit.
law.
That is
Members of
bullshit.
Congress are above the law. Everybody on the Epstein files above the law. We need to make that a better situation. It really kind of showed how weak our Congress, our judicial system, and our government in general really is. We had these guardrails and boundaries and stuff, but then Donald Trump, this big fucking clod, goes walking over them, and there's nothing that can be done. It's frustrating.
Yeah. The other night I was out with some friends having dinner, and a friend of a friend showed up who happens to be the athletic director at a private school. I won't name the school and I won't name the guy. And we were talking, and I said, "Now we're talking kids of one percenters that go to school
Yeah,
at this private school." And I said, "Do like the kids that are come from really wealthy families in athletics, do they get treated differently than just a normal kid on the team?" And the athletic director looked at me straight on and he said, "Oh yes, they get treated differently."
Well,
He didn't even try to lie about it, right? It's like they get treated differently because their folks, built the basketball arena,
right.
right? I mean, how can you not? He's like, how can you not treat those kids differently? And it's just like, yeah, it's just like that shit that's up here. Just it's all the way down into our communities where they get treated differently.
Well, when we were playing sports back in the 70s and stuff, we were all pretty much the same. We went there and you got your ass kicked by the coach because that's kind of the way it worked out. But these days in sports, it's a much different deal. I'm watching some younger kids play. I have a step grandson who plays sports, and parents are so fucking involved and whining and crying and saying, my kids should start. That would never have happened back in the day. If some dad came in and said, my kids should be starting, and they'd say, fuck you. But nowadays it's like school too. Nobody can do anything because the parents are running the show,
Yeah.
and the kids are losers for it, whether it be education or sports.
Well, we're getting totally off subject here, but I mean the amount of time and money that parents put into their kids now who aren't even on the A traveling team, because now, we have nephews that play hockey, and you have like the traveling A team, and then you have like a double A team, and then you have a double A B team, and then you have a B team, a traveling B team where they don't even travel, but they play, in Fargo and they play in Wilmer, and they go all over and play. And these kids probably aren't even going to make the high school varsity team.
Right, right. But every
And
parent thinks their kid's going to be a D1 player.
yeah, and I had a talk with my brother-in-law, and I was like, dude, what would you do if you had a cabin? Because they come up fishing to our cabin, right? Like once or twice a summer in between sports. And I'm like, if you had a cabin, you never, you couldn't have a cabin because you're so busy with your kids' sports. Because when you're done with hockey, then baseball starts. And then when you're done with baseball, football starts, or lacrosse or golf. And I mean, it's crazy the amount of time that parents put into their kids' sports. Crazy. But
Well, it is, and
it keeps
I
them out
think
of trouble. Keeps them
well, it
out of
keeps
trouble.
them out of trouble. And it's different than what we were talking about. But I think it's a societal thing. The wealthy get fed, and the middle class and the lower class people have to scramble for the crumbs, and
Yeah, yeah.
that happens in sports. I'm thinking back. We've had a few people that we grew up with that went on and did a lot of things in sports, like our friend Mike Ramsey.
Yeah.
He's maybe the epitome. He played at Hiawatha Park. He wasn't going to elite shit. He was playing on an outdoor ice arena in a fucking park board. And from there, he kind of progressed, and then it got more busy. But I think, they got 10-year-old kids now in ice arenas working out, paying tons of money to play in these ice arenas. It just everything is about money. And when we were playing, we had shitty fucking jerseys
Well, we had fun. I mean,
and we had fun.
Longfellow Park, you'd get done with hockey and then you'd go in and wrestle and then you'd play a little floor hockey, maybe go shoot a game of pool and go, oh shit, I got to get on my bike and ride home because it's 9:30 and I was supposed to be home at 9, you know.
Well, there was another part to the park that you're not talking about. Maybe you're just being gentle about it. The other part of the park, when you got to be about 14 years old, you get yourself a bottle of Mad Dog, go to the the dance at the park, and do
Oh
your
yeah.
best to get a girl to talk to you.
Yeah, slow dance with Connie Cardinal.
Wow, I haven't thought of that name for a long time.
Oh
I hope she
man.
doesn't listen.
Let's see if you can pull anything out of your hat. What was the name of one of the bands back in the day?
I mean, I know some of the names in the
Was one of
band.
them Thunderstruck?
I think it was. It was a
Thunderstruck?
corny fucking yeah,
Yeah.
thunderstruck, and it was always the same guys.
Well, yeah. And they played a terrible Stairway to Heaven, but you got to slow dance with, some gal. So,
Yeah, absolutely. As you're trying to hold your stomach down from drinking shitty wine. And the reason you drank shitty wine is because that's all you could get. I still
well,
don't know where this
99.
stuff came from.
Yeah. Everybody talks now about $2 Chuck, I think, isn't that at some store where you can get a $2 bottle of wine somewhere. And obviously, your listeners know that neither one of us drink, but,
Now,
back in the day, I think you could go to like Mary's liquor store and get a bottle of Ripple or Easy Nights or Mellow Days. What was that? That was like some wine, wasn't it?
yeah, there was Annie Greensprings, TJ
Oh yeah,
Swan. You
Mad
know what I
Dog
was
20.
met? Oh, that fucking stuff. If I go into a liquor store now and I see Mad Dog 2020, um, I still kind of throw up in my throat.
Yep.
Those were the
Yeah,
worst fucking times.
that was the worst. Terrible.
You know, even though knowing you and living in the neighborhood and partying with you, you quit 39 years ago. I quit 37 years ago, thereabouts. I was still in my 20s. You obviously in your
Yeah,
20s when you quit.
yeah,
And people say, aren't you afraid of what you missed out? I got to tell you, from the time we were 14 to the time I was 28, I did everything you could do and a lot of things I shouldn't have done.
yep, yep. Yeah, I don't remember much. Like I think I said earlier, I don't remember much from 85 to 87. So what did I miss? I don't know. Life,
Yeah,
you
well,
know?
you took it a little step farther. That that she got into more of the illicit
Yeah,
stuff. I
yeah.
never got in. I tried it, but I never got into it.
I sold weed and cocaine, and the cocaine is what got me into treatment. And I figured that I would get out and keep drinking, but the doctor told me that I had a swelled up liver, and he asked me if I drank. I said, "Well, yeah, only like 4 or 5 nights a week." And
Yeah,
so, I knew where my life was headed if I didn't clean up my act, and I didn't want to, I didn't want to go to prison, and I didn't want to jump off a bridge. So it's like, you know, you know, like I've said, Mike, I said I'll give it a year, and if my life isn't better, I can always go back, right? And I say the same thing today. If my life was so terrible from not using or missing out on something, like people think you're really missing out on something, I can always go back, but
yeah,
I
absolutely,
have
absolutely.
I have no desire.
I had the worries of the health conditions from drinking too much,
Yeah.
but I also had the worries of being killed in my sleep by my wife. Uh, she wasn't a fan.
Yeah.
Some people thought I
Well,
was funny when I was drunk. She did not.
yeah. Well, that's I would not be married to my wife today if I was, you know, uh, partying in the stage that I was in back when I was younger. And she's made that very clear to me. And she doesn't know no other Mike, right? She never knew
Right.
me in my wilder days. So, you
Yeah.
know, now
Yeah.
she just
Yeah.
now they just get mad because you hunt too much or you fish too much or you watch too much sports or. Eh,
Or you do too many podcasts or
yeah,
TikToks. I get that shit. I don't.
yeah. Well, yeah.
Uh,
Well. that's your gig. I like coming on here once in a while and shooting the shit, but I couldn't do it every day. I commend you for, getting the word out there and letting the people know what's going on, you
Well, that's
know.
all I know how to do, and I'm not
No,
going to protest because, I've told you this before, if I go out and talk to Trumplefucks, I'm going to think in my head that I'm 25 and I'll mix it up with some motherfucker, but I'm 65. I got no business doing that.
I tell you, I'm not a protester either, right? And, I went down to the site. I've been on the Lake Street Bridge, um, cheering on the protesters. Um, my wife's been down there with a sign, but, we're not protesters, but we also love our community. And when we saw what was happened to it, felt like we needed to do something. Okay. And so we're trying to support some of the business and some of the people monetarily wise. Um, we, uh, helping out wherever we can. We went and volunteered filling up some bags with, toiletries and stuff for, hygiene to hand out. So little things like that. But I tell you, our friend JP.
Yeah.
So he got tickets to the concert down at First Avenue, where there was um, some band members that came in to raise money for Renee Good and Alex Preddy. And so he asked me to go to it. So I drove to his house. We took the light rail down there, and I got friends like, "Oh my God, you took the light rail?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, "Oh, weren't you worried? Like you were gonna, like they think like the light rail is full of, people that are gonna kill you or something." But anyhow, we went down to this concert, and I don't know if you're familiar with Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine.
I
He
am.
he he put it together. And now this is a guy that is really full of energy. I mean, he is an activist. He hates the right regime, and he has more energy than you can think of. And he put together the show, and then as you know, Bruce Springsteen showed up and um, sang his song, which was
That's
very
crazy.
touching.
I
Very
imagine.
touching. I mean, you heard rumors that he was going to come, but you're like, come on, Bruce Springsteen. And but anyhow, we got out of that concert, and I had my sign that I brought with.
Yeah. Hockey stick.
Can you see it?
I can see it. I can see it. Puck ice.
Yeah,
Now, is
with an
that a wood?
old
Is that
with an old wood Bauer hockey stick. Everything now is carbon fiber. But
nobody
anyhow, I
uses
brought
wood
that with,
hockey
and
sticks and they cost $100?
yeah, well, 300. Some of them hockey
Yeah.
sticks are 300 now. But anyhow, I brought that with, and I knew I'd have to check it. I wouldn't be able to bring it into the concert. But I mean, people saw that right away. At First Avenue, you got lines going down both sides of the street, and it's cold. It's, like, I think it was like 8 degrees with the real feel like 10 below because the wind was blowing. And I come walking up with that sign, and I just start going like this, and everybody's like, puck ice. But the reason why I brought up the sign is because then afterwards, they talked about they were so proud of Minneapolis and the things that we were doing to help out the people here that were being just, you know, accosted by these ICE and Department of Homeland Security agents, and they were so proud of us, and they made us feel like we were like really special for what we were doing. And so they started this concert at noon, and it was supposed to go from noon to 2. They ran a little late, but then that coincided letting out because there was a big rally at the courthouse.
Right.
50 to 100,000 people, they said. And so JP and I got out and walked down Hennepin to Fifth and took Fifth down to the courthouse, and there was just people everywhere. I've never seen so many signs, people protesting, kids, people older than us, families pushing strollers, and it's cold. And I was just so impressed by all these people from every walk of life, every color, every age. And, you know, I got my sign and I just felt really proud. I really did. And all of the musicians, with the exception of Springsteen, because I think he hopped on a plane and got out of here, were at the protest. They
Wow.
all they all got out and then came down to the protest. And I mean, to me, that was really cool. Them guys,
Yeah.
they put on a good show. They did put on a good show, but they were here for one reason, and that was really to raise money for those families, but also to thank Minneapolis for what we were doing. They were very, very heartfelt and sincere about it too.
Don't you find that interesting how many people around the country are so proud of Minnesota? And actually, I'm not surprised by what happened. I can't speak to other cities, but this city, if you've ever been involved in anything with like Twins winning the World Series or George Floyd or something, people will take a certain amount of shit, and then at one point they go hell no, and they start to fight. Whether it be protest or whatever they do. I'm not as surprised as how Minnesota reacted as other people around the country, and I hope this is a role model that some other cities take should they be put in the same situation.
Oh, I can guarantee you that they all saw what we did. They all applauded what we did, and
And it worked.
it's pretty much all right. We know what we need to do if they come to Philadelphia. We know what they need to do if they come to Memphis. I don't think it matters whether you're a sanctuary city, a red city, a blue city. I think people will come out in force and do just what they did here in Minneapolis. And, it's your First Amendment right, right? You can
Yeah.
honk your horn all you want. You can blow a whistle all you want, as long as you're not interfering, with what they're trying to do. That's your First Amendment right. And that's another thing that, where's MAGA? Where's the don't tread on me folks, like saying, what in the hell are you doing treading on those people of Minneapolis?
Well,
Huh? First
they
Amendment, Second
they
Amendment, Fourth Amendment, 10th Amendment. I mean,
they don't really care about government treading on people as long as it's not them. And this
well,
is where they're
sure.
starting to wake up because they're getting tread on too. So they're going, well, wait a fucking minute. You can't do it to us. We're on your team. We're on God's side. We're on the right side of history. I just wanted to bring this up because you and I tend to talk about stuff off topic, but you were talking about First Avenue. First Avenue is a famed bar because of Prince and all the stuff that happened there. And Purple
Yeah.
Rain was filmed in front of it. I had an office that was kitty corner from First Avenue. It was the First Bank Produce building back when I had a small studio back then. But do you remember going to that bar before it was First Avenue?
I do. I've been there. I still have a
Many
glass.
times.
I still have a glass. And you know what the glass is called? The drink?
What?
Firecracker. Uncle
That's right.
Sam's.
Uncle Sam's. And after a while, they called it Sam's. And
Sam's,
what
yep.
And what people don't maybe know is First Avenue, Sam's, Uncle Sam's. Before that, it was a Greyhound bus depot.
Yeah.
And now it's gone on to fame as the spot where Purple Rain was filmed and such. And um, when you were out in these protests, did you see a cross section of people? Did you see older people, younger people, people of
Oh, it
color?
was all walks of life, Mike. All
Was
walks
it?
of life. Yeah. They met at the government center and had a meeting spot there, and then they walked down Nicollet Mall, and from Fifth Street to 12th Street, 7 blocks long, there was nothing but people on the sidewalk in the street, total packed. For, if my South High math is correct, that'd be like 7 blocks, right?
There you go.
Yeah, just packed. And then, a lot of people, because it was so cold, went to the rally at the courthouse and then did not march down Nicollet Avenue because we didn't march. We got on the bus and got the hell out of there because we were cold. We weren't dressed for the weather because we were going to First Avenue to see the concert, but we stuck around for the rally at the courthouse. And then when the wave of people, it was like water buffalo on the Serengeti. they just all started going towards Nicollet Avenue, and we hopped on the nice warm train and didn't get mugged, didn't get knifed, nothing happened to us. We were okay.
Well, in spite of what Donald Trump says, or the Republicans say, or ICE says, Minneapolis is a fairly quiet town. We have our crimes and we have our violence at times in certain areas. I
No,
mean,
like any,
be perfectly honest with you, nobody goes downtown Minneapolis anymore, other
I
than to
do,
protest. Do you
I
really?
do. Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm not afraid to go down there. It's just not as much to draw me down there.
Well, I think now that since COVID, a majority like Target doesn't have all their employees down there. If they do, I think it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. A lot of the big offices down there now, everybody's working for home. So it is kind of a ghost town, but we go down there to see shows.
Well,
Not,
yeah,
not
yeah,
movies, but we went down. What did we see? We
like the
saw,
Orpheum or something.
yeah, we went to the Pantages. Is that the name? Is
Yeah,
that
that's another one
my
down
wife
there.
drags me down there, and we go, and then we'll go to a restaurant down there, and um, it's like everybody thinks like if you go down to downtown Minneapolis, you're going to get mugged. That's just the bottom line is you're going to get mugged. Well, you got a lot better chance of getting mugged or getting shot if you're down there at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Well, yeah, there you
Just
go.
like anywhere, you know, like our friends out west that, I mean, like if you were at a bar in a town in western Minnesota at 2 o'clock in the morning, your chances of getting in a street fight or getting shot or knifed or a DWI or running with somebody is much greater than if you're in bed snoring at 10:30 like you are
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
and like
Um,
me, you know.
yeah. Well, I had an office downtown in the 80s and early 90s, and downtown was much grimier then than it is
Yeah.
now. And I was younger and I was walking around. I ran into a couple of problems, but nothing too serious. The point is if you're going to pick out a town with a lot of problems and a lot of violence, Minneapolis is not it. They didn't pick it out because there were problems here. They picked it out as kind of a revenge against walls and the blue state and all that stuff. And they thought we were too nice and that we just get run over. And
Yeah.
boy, were they fucking surprised.
Yeah, I think they're very surprised. I mean, really, 3,000 agents to Minnesota when you had 429 worst of the worst?
Well, you were talking about the Insurrection Act before, and I said I don't know how they pull it off because they had the 3,000 agents down there, and then they were going to pull in the 2,000 military troops, and that's well and good. But how does 5,000 people stop 70,000 people? You can't
Yeah.
do it.
Well, and how do you stop them?
Yeah.
Does 500 people surround the truck and push on the doors so they can't get out of their vehicles? I mean, how do you stop them? Obviously, if the military comes in here, you're not going to stop them. I mean, is everybody going to pull their deer hunt rifles out and, you know, pretend like we're in Poland in 1939 trying to, have an underground army and stop the invasion? No. I mean, that's why, I think they did not come, I don't know.
Well, it's
I
illegal,
don't think, I
first of
don't think
all.
there's, I don't think there's anything that anybody was going to do if the military was going to come.
Well, but I also think that we maybe got some pushback from the military because it was clearly against their code of conduct, their oath. It was against the Constitution. And while Donald Trump doesn't give a fuck about it,
Well, they
there
don't
has
care.
to be some. No, they don't. But there has to be some people in the military, the brass or whatever, going. That's too far. I know this is going to be over sometime, and I don't want to lose my career over doing something fucking stupid. So they had to probably play a game and trick them or whatever. But I think a lot of these people don't want to get caught up in Donald Trump's shit. Pam Bondi has, Cash Patel. They all know where these people are, how they're
Well,
going to
they
end
all
up.
have. Hey, Seth, I mean, you look at everybody in his cabinet. Is there one person in his cabinet that you would trust?
No, no. And, the one
I mean,
person that everybody,
and I'm not saying that because I hate Donald Trump. I'm saying that, like, is there one person in there that you would trust?
based on their performance, no, there's nobody I would trust. The one person that I think people thought might be okay was Marco Rubio. And now seeing what a suck ass he is, nobody's going to trust him. He's a relatively young guy. I don't think he realizes it, but his political career's over when Donald Trump is gone.
I would have to guess so. I would think that everybody on his cabinet, I mean, most of them are billionaires, so they can probably go sail away on their yacht somewhere. And,
Yeah.
like I said, there's probably harbors in the billionaire boats where they can go hide. But, like Bavino, we talked earlier, is there a rock big enough that he can hide under out in California? I don't think so.
Did you hear about his trip to Vegas?
I didn't.
He was out in Vegas at a bar called something Blonde. I don't know what it was. But he was out there with some other younger guys, presumably ICE agents, and they were partying and drinking and stuff like that. And then the bouncers came up and said, "Listen, man, you got to get the fuck out of there." And they walked their ass right out of the bar. And that's what a lot of these people are going to experience. They're going to be shunned. They're going to be marginalized when this is all said and done. They think they're doing God's work, but they don't really. I can't believe it, but they don't understand how many people hate these motherfuckers.
Well, I'm curious as to why they walked him out.
Well, they said for safety reasons, but they didn't want them in their club. There was probably a lot of complaints by people all around, and they just kicked their ass out. I mean, we see it here in Minneapolis where these ICE agents would go into a Mexican restaurant of all places, and the little Mexican woman owner would come out and say, "Get the fuck out of my place." That happened more than once here.
Well, how many snot sandwiches do you think them guys ate? Huh? How many buns were rubbed up in between the cheeks and put on their hamburger? I mean, a lot.
Yeah.
They're too fucking stupid to use DoorDash.
And that is why my wife and I always tip excessive amounts.
And eat at the same place.
People, why we go to the similar places? We always tip really big.
Yeah, but dude, you tip after you eat.
Well, I know, but you're nice when you come in. You're a nice old couple. Yeah. You're friendly. You talk to them, and then when you tip them right the first time, we go back. They have our drinks ready for us ahead of time. They go, "Oh, I want those guys."
Yeah. Well, I was a general contractor, and all my subcontractors. My theory was praise them, love them, pay them. And
yeah,
they always came back. They always made time in their schedule to, whether it was an electrician or a plumber or heat and air conditioning, landscaping, whatever the case may be. Praise them, love them, pay them. And it's the same way with everybody else in your life that is providing you a service.
Yeah, you treat people well, they're going to treat you well.
But if I'm a waiter and I know there's an ICE agent sitting there, I'm putting a big snag on his burger. I'm telling you, I am.
Well, as a South Minneapolis guy, I don't doubt you at all.
I might even rub his bun in between my cheeks.
I spent some time working in some restaurants. You maybe remember this one. I remember we used to go to parties and we were like 15 years old, so we weren't even driving.
Didn't you work at Baskin Robbins?
No, never worked there.
I thought you did.
But remember Poncho's up on Lake Street, the Mexican place?
Yeah.
I remember us and a couple of our friends getting drunk at the party and then going to work. And if you got a bad person in there, they didn't get the best of food from that place. I never did it because I don't think they let me touch the food directly. But there's some. You ever notice that with restaurants?
Now, are you talking about Ponchos or Mad Mexican?
Pancho Villas.
Oh, okay.
It might be Mad Mexican.
Mad Mexican was on Lake Street, right up by South High School.
Right. It used to be Pancho Villas back in the day. Okay. Yeah. But that's the one thing. I don't know did you ever work in a restaurant?
I've never worked in a restaurant.
I worked in a few.
I fit the Trump mold, right? I cut down Christmas trees and I milked cows and, you know, baled hay, you know, all the manly stuff.
Well, yeah, Mike did all the manly stuff, and I did whatever it took to get fucking paid. But you would, if you worked at a specific restaurant, um, oftentimes you would never eat at that restaurant. I don't know if it was just because it didn't have the shine it did, or you knew what was going on in the background. I worked at the Coliseum in Highland over
Oh
by
yeah,
our
yeah.
famed Pudges. Um, I worked there for a long time and never went back there to eat because I kind of knew how the shit was
You
made, and
know,
it wasn't bad.
I think your brother and my brother, Mark and Brett, I think they chopped celery at Kimi Chow Mein across from
I
the
did.
Riverview. Did you
I
really?
did. Yeah.
You still
It
got all
was,
your fingers?
I got all my, I only lasted about 3 days. That was the
Yeah.
most fucked up job. It was this Chinese couple that owned a small Chinese restaurant. I don't even know if it was good because I never ate there. And I said, I need a job. They said, okay, we'll give you a job. They put me at a table, a small, tiny table. They gave me uh, a shit ton of salary, and they say just cut that up. And then what do I do next? Now you just keep cutting salary all fucking day. That's all I did, cut salary. And surprisingly, I got bored with that, and
Well,
I got a
yeah.
little.
I mean, give me a piece of chicken to cut up or something. I mean, fucking celery all day long.
Well, then of course, just around the corner was the pizza place that became very famed
Oh
when
yeah.
we were
And
young.
what
We
was the
saw some
name of
shit
that?
there.
What was the name of that?
Riverside Pizza.
Riverside or Riverview?
That might have been Riverview. Yeah.
Riverview Theater.
Now
Riverview.
the first guy who owned that place, his name was Hovde.
Yeah.
Crazy motherfucker. I mean, he was crazy. He was a
He was
drunk.
crazy.
I remember sitting in there. Now he hired me, and all he paid me was $5 a night. I'd work for hours, and he'd give me $5, and that was it. But there was a cop car sitting outside Riverview Pizza, and he walked out. There was a cop car, and it pissed him off. Nobody was in the car. He went out, and it's still when they had the little cherries on top. He literally, and this guy was a little guy. He wasn't
Well, I
big.
remember him well.
He punched the top of that bubble off and then walked back in and act like nothing happened. It was just, and he was such a slimy fuck. Um,
Yeah, he was.
he sold the place, okay, and he had the guy coming in who was going to buy it, Joe, who's some guy from the country, just wants to own a fucking place. So he says to me, says, Mike, I want you to make 30 pizzas and I want you to call your friends and have them come pick them up. I said, why? Just do it. So he's sitting there talking to this guy, trying to sell the fucking shop. And I'm making pizza after pizza, people coming in, people coming in. He sold that place, and poor Joe bought this thing and didn't make any money. But he was real big on being boss. So he started bossing me around. The only problem was I was the only one left that could make a fucking pizza. So I said, fuck you, I'm leaving. And he goes, well, I'll give you more money. And it was just,
We
it
had a
was, it
lot of
was,
we had a lot of fun in that place, playing pinball and yeah,
that place was always crowded, but never made any money.
yeah. Well, we never bought anything. I mean, God, the only way we'd get a pizza is if you were Hexaware making pizzas, and
Yeah.
right?
And Joe was excited whenever you had 15 or 16-year-old girls in there.
Yeah.
He thought he was the fucking king. But I knew when I had to leave, and I knew we had a problem. Now, these kids are probably in their 40s or 50s, but I walked up, I'm going to work, and he's got three little kids, like four, 3, and 2. And I walk up, imagine a restaurant like this. I walk up and there's the front window where it says Riverview Pizza and all that stuff. And all three of these kids had a round of dough in their hands, and they were licking it and eating it and then rubbing it on the window. Boy, I said, we're not going to get much business here. Maybe you ought to start looking for something else.
Riverview Pizza. God.
Yeah. Yeah. It was,
Days.
people have to bear with us a little bit. Mike and I don't talk that often, and there's so many reminiscence of those days, and we're old people now, so we live for that shit.
Well, we're boomers, right? It's kind
Yeah.
of fun. It's kind of fun to reminisce back to the days that, I mean, it probably won't be long where we'll forget all that shit, or that's the shit we'll remember and we won't know what our name is.
Yeah, I kiddingly, and this is probably insensitive, but people know me to be insensitive. I said, if I'm ever at a point where I get Alzheimer's or dementia, I'm a guy that likes to look at the bright side of things. And my wife worries about it. She says, take your fish oil and do this stuff. I said, look, if I get it, it's not great. I understand that, but there is an upside to it. She looks at me like, what the fuck are you talking about? What's the upside? I said, I get to wake up every morning next to a hot chick I don't know.
Yeah. Every day,
That's
every day's a new day, right?
Yeah, you got to make lemonade out of lemons
Hey, how come
sometimes.
you're taking fish oil and not krill oil?
I don't fucking know. Somebody told my wife to take fish oil. So what's krill oil?
Well, look it up there when you're done.
Krill
It's,
spelled
it,
with a C or a K?
it's krill is what the whales eat out in the ocean.
And how do you know that works? Because there are no whales with Alzheimer's.
Because my wife tells me it's
Oh, there you go. There
supposed
you
to be
go.
better. It's supposed to be better than fish oil.
Okay. Well, there's all the Prevagen and all this stuff, and somebody at the pharmacy says, just take the fish oil.
Do you
So
ever
I
get
said,
do you ever get it mixed up with your little purple pill?
you mean the blue one? I've
Oh, so at
never.
least you know what color they are.
I know what it is. I haven't partaken, and it's not so much a lack of need; it's a lack of opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you know what they say when you get to be our age, if your wife gets a little frisky, go tell her to make you a sandwich.
Yeah, no, that my wife would tell me to make a fucking sandwich. I'm making the sandwiches in this fucking house. That's no question. Well, Mike, we're going to wrap things up for the
Yep.
Rational Boomer podcast.
But
I know you got other stuff to do. No, you don't. You don't have shit to do.
I got
You're
a little bit
retired.
going on. I got a busy week coming up, so
Yeah, you're going out of town.
yep, yep, yep. Gonna go relax and get some vitamin D. So,
Well, you're going down south to Mexico. Are you concerned
yep.
about getting back if you get too tan?
Well, I'm concerned about getting back if the government shut down. The TSA agents go, "Hey, fuck you, stay in Mexico."
Well, that's true. We've got this shutdown coming up. People are worried about it. The shutdown is only with DHS, but that means TSA,
Yep,
and that
Coast
could cause
Guard.
some big delays. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? At this point, I hope the Democrats start flexing their muscle a little bit, and you know,
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
think I don't think any law enforcement in our country should have fucking masks on, and they should
No.
all be wearing the exact same fucking uniform. That's just the way it should be.
Well, and see, that's what they're arguing about. If they don't come to an agreement later tonight, this is Friday when people hear it, then they will shut down, but only really DHS is going to be shut down. And ICE, that's fine. People
Yeah.
think ICE is going to go broke. ICE
Well, ICE
has
has
a
been,
budget. This
yeah,
was
the
just
ICE has
extra
been,
money.
the ICE has been funded. They're sitting on 75 billion, so they'll
Yeah,
be okay.
they're not
But
going to go
I
away.
just
But
think
you're
I
right.
just think it's time to start flexing the muscle and demanding that ICE take their fucking masks off. And if they say that 80% of ICE agents will quit if they have to take their masks off, well, what does that tell you? What
Yeah, and
does that
I'm all for it.
what does that tell you?
I think they're already having problems keeping people working there or recruiting people to get work there. Give you an idea of what kind of people they're working with. I don't know if you heard this story as we're winding down here, but just the other day there was a guy, or a group of people, but a guy mainly busted for sex trafficking in Bloomington, Minnesota, the
Oh
southern
yeah,
suburb.
I tell you, I
Which,
like that. I like that police chief in Bloomington.
yeah, he's good. He's
He's
good.
good.
He is good.
He's good.
I thought you were going to say, I like that hotel. No,
All right.
but did you know what that guy does as a day job?
No.
He does background checks for ICE.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's his
Fucking
real job.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of guys they're hiring for ICE who is actually participating in sex trafficking. It's fucking appalling.
Well, they're all, yep, yep. So real quick
Yeah.
before we go, I'm going to Mexico with about 24 people, and you would know most of them because they're from junior high and high school.
How do you work something like that out? I mean, I don't see a lot of people. I mean, I see you from junior high school and some other guys, but
Todd Legard's wife does them, gets them together, and everybody goes. So you just have to, you get such a great deal. It's hard to turn down, and we're just going to go and golf and fish and sit by the pool and get some sunshine. So,
is your wife going with you?
yep, yeah, everybody's
Good.
wives are going, and they'll get spas and massages, and we'll go golfing and fishing in the sea, and
How long you going for? A week?
just Saturday to Saturday.
Saturday to Saturday, so a week. Given that you're going down with our former junior high school.
Well, Elaine, Chris
buddies.
Ann, Donna,
Yeah.
Julie. I mean, the list goes on. You know them all.
Well, the thing is the little conversation we had reminiscing. That's
Yeah.
going to go solid for a week for you
Oh yeah.
motherfuckers.
Oh yeah. That'll be fun. I'm
Yeah,
looking.
it should be a good time.
Just cutting
Well,
into my ice fishing a little bit. The fish are biting on Mille Lacs really good. So
yeah, well, you got to sacrifice sometimes. You got to
peace out.
sacrifice.
Hey,
Thank you,
and
Mike.
I wanted to say I'm much calmer now. That's why you didn't hear, a lot of Effenheimers tonight, because I'm a lot. My sister watched your podcast and she said, "Shit, if I would have taken a sip every time I heard you say fuck, I would have been drunk in the first 10 minutes." So I'm much mellower now, and doing a little Zen, getting everything groovy, cool. So
Well, the thing about it is that on this podcast, the word fuck is steadily peppered through it all the time. So whatever you didn't do, I picked up the slack. And puck ice, absolutely, absolutely.
that's my PG version.
Yeah.
All right,
All
Mike.
right.
Good to see you, man.
Those of you who are listening, thanks for taking the time. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.